The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes three-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chintpowersystems.com to find out more.
And companies like Lumen are at the forefront, just building a better mousetrap in terms of, okay, how do we control more kW at a lower cost, and ultimately, the equation is, how do you move more kilowatt hours, more electrons through the same kilowatt infrastructure, and that's ultimately a more efficient model. It's going to lower rates. It's going to create less carbon, and that's what we're a part of.
Are you speeding the energy transition? Here at the Clean Power Hour, our hosts Tim Montague and John Weaver bring you the best in solar, batteries, and clean technologies every week. Want to go deeper into decarbonization? We do too. We're here to help you understand and command the commercial, residential, and utility solar, wind, and storage industries. So let's get to it. Together we can speed the energy transition.
Today on the Clean Power Hour, transforming homes into smart powerhouses. I'm Tim Montague, your host. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour. Please check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. Give us a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out our YouTube channel. And I want to welcome Kelly Warner. He is the CEO of Lumin, or Lumin Smart. They make a smart panel for load management and electrification of everything. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited about this product, and I see a million different products related to the energy transition, and I have to say this is very compelling. So I think if you're interested in the energy transition and electrification, please stick around. This is going to be an eye-opening interview and product, especially for those of you involved in electrification, solar, batteries, and EV charging. So, Kelly, give our listeners a little background on yourself.
So I've been in the energy industry my whole career. That's all I know, Tim. Started actually in the mid-'80s. I did my graduate work at Stanford, and it was all around how do you start integrating supply and demand options into the whole utility planning framework. And so spent, after that, half of my career in consulting, doing this type of planning, mostly on the demand side, and implementing programs on the demand side. And then the second half was basically running technology companies like Lumen. And so, everything from wind power to virtual power plants, and now what we're doing at Lumen with smart electrical panels.
Very cool. Well, you could be doing many things, Kelly. So why have you chosen Lumen as your next big thing?
Yeah, few different reasons. One is it fits really well with my background. I understand that, the intersection of the grid and the customer is something that, I've spent a whole career sort of trying to figure out. But I was just very impressed with Lumen's technology and the way we're going about creating flexible demand and load management in the residential sector. My previous companies have been more larger scale commercial industrial, but, we are basically attacking a challenge that, has to be figured out if this whole electrification scheme is going to work. And so I think Lumen has a really great approach for dealing with how are we going to fit more electrical loads cost effectively into the grid, and also manage distributed energy resources like solar and batteries in, a more cost effective way and a better user experience way.
Yeah, I think, as my listeners have heard me say, and hopefully you know this now, we're going to triple or quadruple the amount of electricity that we use when we electrify transportation and HVAC and industry, right? A lot more electricity. And just thinking residential now, with the advent of heat pumps and the incentives that we have, thanks to the IRA, we can electrify HVAC. And of course, we're electrifying transportation, albeit with many hiccups. And, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, Kelly, about the Luddites in England during the Industrial Revolution, right? They were very concerned about their jobs and their future. And I think that is part of the roots of the pushback that we're seeing in the United States, frankly, to electrification of the consumer, family car. It's just stunning how much pushback there is in American society right now. And eventually, the economics will speak for itself, right? The EVs will be cheaper and they'll run longer and more affordably for the lifetime cost of the vehicle. We're not quite there yet, but in the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to happen. And then the ICE engine just goes bye-bye. It's not a choice, right? It's just going to be more expensive and people will choose what's more affordable. So anyway, back to my comment about electrification, right? Most homes have either 100 or 200 amp service. Most modern homes have a 200 amp service, but smaller, older homes have 100 amp service. And so when you want to put solar or you want to put an EV charger or both, sometimes that can be a problem and you have to upgrade the service and that adds to cost and delays. And so these innovations like Lumen, the smart panel, and we're going to get into what that is, play a vital role in speeding the energy transition. Do I have that right?
No, absolutely. And Lumen is built to scale. So, we're looking at if you really look at what has to happen to make the energy transition successful, it can't just be cool technologies that go into, very large trophy homes, which is kind of what we've seen as the early adopters of some of the new technologies. We've got to get it out into middle America, into low middle income communities that have those 100 amp service panels. And so we've really designed the Lumen products to be cost effective in those kind of settings and ultimately make this whole transition more cost effective, helping utilities not have to spend, hundreds of billions of dollars upgrading the electric grid and helping homeowners not to have to spend tens of thousands of dollars upgrading their own electric system in their home. So, it's a retrofit product. It's looking at how do you deal with existing homes. Can also be used in a new home situation. But the real challenge is, how are we going to electrify all of these existing homes? There's research out there that's saying there's going to have to be 50 million electrical panel upgrades to facilitate this move towards electrification. And that's a very expensive proposition. And so, yes, you can create government incentives and things to help with this, but ultimately you got to have the enabling technologies that make this all work.
Yeah. So as you're adding loads, in the case of residential, it's primarily heat pumps and EV charging infrastructure. As you're adding these loads, how does a Lumin Smart panel play into that? And what is a Lumin Smart panel and what exactly does it do?
Right. So basically, it's a load management system, a load control system. We control loads at the circuit level. So your current circuit breaker panel basically has relays in there, that circuit breakers that are controlling the loads in your home. And it's there for safety and protection. What we're doing is making some number of those circuits smart and intelligent and controllable. And in that way, you combine hardware with software and information technology to optimize the loads in the home so that you can basically manage the peak loads of the home to a prescribed level. So as an example, if you're adding in, well, let me talk about, first of all, the use case of solar and batteries. So typically, when you're installing a battery into your home, it's not designed to cover all the loads in your home. Sure. And so Typically what happens when you go from on-grid to off-grid is under a normal setting, you would only be able to access, 3, 4, 5 different circuits in your home while you're running on your battery power.
So-called critical loads, right?
Yeah, critical loads panel. So with a Lumin Smart panel, you can basically access all the circuits in your home. You just can't access them all at the same time. So our app would allow the homeowner to prioritize their loads, and then the software takes over so that we are basically optimizing or juggling the loads to make sure that the peak load of the home stays below the rated capacity of the battery or the inverter that it's running on. So it's a huge step up in the value proposition for the homeowner in terms of, what they can, how they can experience and use their electrical system while they're on the battery. That same technology and software we're now applying to the electrification use case. So the same set of relays and computer technology and monitoring technology, we're able to apply to the objective function of how do you fit more loads into an existing service panel, but cap the loads at that panel rating. And it's very tricky when you're dealing with, small, medium-sized homes when you have that 100 amp service panel and you're trying to put in a 60 amp EV charger. That's just going to hog a lot of the electrical capacity when that's on. So either you have to spend, 10 grand and up to upgrade your whole system, or, you're using a load management approach like Lumen so that you can manage the loads and keep below that prescribed level.
So I would love to just geek out for a second. When you're adding solar and battery, solar alone is nice, right? But you have no backup then, right? When the grid goes down, the solar disconnects by code and you're without juice when the sun is shining or not if the grid is down. Add a battery and microgrid hardware, grid goes down, system isolates from the grid. Let's say it's daylight and the battery is picking up any local load combined with the solar. If you're away from home and there's not a lot going on in the home, the solar's charging the battery. But why does that put a load, so to speak, on the infrastructure, the amperage of the main panel doing the solar and battery upgrade?
So it depends on the whole installation. Everyone's sort of different, but in a lot of times, if you're installing the solar and the battery, you have to upgrade your panel in that setting, but not always. Really, it's that avoiding that situation where you have a protected loads panel, which is very much limiting, how you're operating the system when you're off grid. That is one of the value propositions. But really the other thing is we're able to manage and set schedules and optimize the demand and supply at the home so that you can, for example, harvest more solar energy when the sun is shining, especially with the changes in the utility tariffs, the infamous NEM 3.0 situation in California, where you're not getting a very decent return on selling power back to the grid. You can harvest that power in your battery, and it's economically more beneficial.
Okay, and there's a few aspects to the system. There's something you call Lumen Edge. What is that, and how is that relevant to this issue of being able to have backup with solar battery and eventually have additional loads like EV charging and heat pumps?
Yeah, so our main product is the Lumin Smart panel, and it's been around for probably 4 years, and it's sort of a mainstay on that solar and battery market. So there are thousands of them that are installed. It's basically a box that tethers or connects to your existing circuit breaker panel. So that's one of our claims to fame is you don't have to replace the circuit breaker panel. We leave that intact. We leave the breakers there to do their job. And basically we just run in series from the breakers into the Lumin Smart panel. There are 12 relays and sets of monitors and then control systems. So it basically, the Lumin Smart panel takes a subset of your circuits, 12 of them, and makes them intelligent and controllable. And that has a certain cost and a certain features that are really optimized for that solar and battery use case. So our new product, which we are just super excited about, is Lumin Edge. It's basically a modular version of the Lumin Smart panel. So same kinds of relays and sensors and all the hardware, but in a modular fashion. So the whole thing we're trying to do with Lumin Edge is bring down the overall cost of the installed system costs. So not only the hardware, but the installation itself. And that's where we have a huge advantage over all of our other competitors out there. So with Lumin Edge, there is a hub, which is basically the computer and the brains and the communication system. And that plugs into your internet router. And that's how data gets back up through the cloud into our NOC. But then it also communicates with individual control modules, which are basically wired in to however many number of circuits that you want to control. You can control one circuit, you can control 150 circuits or more if you wanted to. So in this way, we think that a good pairing would be a hub plus 4 circuits that you're controlling. We have this motto, control what matters. We're really just controlling the big loads in the home, the 240 dual pole loads. Usually it's just one load on a circuit so that you know exactly what you're getting. So the water heater, the HVAC system, the pool pump, maybe dryers, things like that.
Right.
So our whole goal is to get the cost of this down while maintaining the overall effectiveness. And we've got it, we think, to a cost where, pretty soon you'll be able to, for example, if your gas water heater craps out and you want to go install it with an electric heat pump water heater, that you could go to a distributor or go to a Lowe's or Home Depot and basically purchase the new water heater and a Lumin Edge product and install them at the same time. And you've basically solve the electrification challenge there in terms of cost effectively getting that new load into your existing electrical infrastructure.
So today it's the Lumin Smart panel. Tomorrow it's Lumin Smart panel plus the Lumin Edge, which is just adding functionality. Is that the gist of that?
Well, it's basically the same functionality as the Lumin Smart panel. It's just it's a cheaper, easier to install design. So
okay.
the Lumin Edge is really targeted for electrification use cases and then utility scale load management. And so, like going back to my early days, I've always viewed the whole electric system as this entire ecosystem, of the electric grid, the utilities, and then now we have all the distributed energy resources and how are they going to be plugging into this whole system. And so this kind of fleet management capability allows the grid operators to do a much better, much more efficient job of managing power flows on the grid when there's demand flexibility in response to either power flow congestion or just really high costs. So that's what Lumin Edge is really geared towards. So it's geared toward mass distribution of these technologies.
And is Lumin Edge also a retrofit product?
It is very much so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what are you? I mean, is the Lumin Edge being sold today, or is that still?
So it is in the process of being launched. So we've been been over 2 years in development. A lot of people have heard about it, a lot of interest in it. And it's targeted Commercial release is in September. We are just now launching, we call it our pre-release program, where we are sending out, roughly 60 to 100 systems out to a group of utilities and OEM partners that are going to be part of our pre-release program, where we're basically putting it through its final paces and getting some customer feedback in terms of the overall functionality and the designs of it, and more experience on the installation side. So systems designed to be able to install in about an hour. So it's a really simple thing to install. And that's why it's getting the level of interest that it's getting from various players.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes three-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chintpowersystems.com to find out more. Yeah, I see that you have announced a partnership with Sunnova, a very large residential solar and battery company. Tell us about that, and what is that footprint like? What markets is the Lumen or the Lumin Smart panel available in?
Yeah, so we sell primarily through distributors now, and so the CED, Greentechs, and the Rexalls of the world. So that's where you would go and get the Lumen Smart panel. With Sunnova, that's just a huge opportunity for us, and it's a really great partnership. They have a financed product that has really weathered a lot of the interest rate hiccups that we've seen in the solar market. And so building in the Lumin Smart panel is a package that they will be delivering to their customers through their dealer network, and having that be a fully financed solution is a great way to, I think, gain economies of scale and efficiencies in terms of delivering solar and storage and load management to the residential market. As you know, there I think either one or two in terms of the size of the solar residential market, and they're looking. I think they did about 150,000 homes last year. They're going to do more this year, and they have a pretty high battery attachment rate. So that just opens up huge market channels for Lumen to make our product available through that channel. We're pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, I would be too. It opens a lot of doors for you. I mean, it's basically your bullseye target market, right? Solar and battery, and electrification.
Yeah, it's certainly a sweet spot. And what they have, not to get too much, they should be talking about their strategy, not me, but they have the Sunnova Adaptive Home that they are rolling out, and where basically they are starting to look at electrification and load management and things like that. And we think that the Lumin Smart panel will be a key enabler of that. And so as an interface between Sunnova and their customers, and be able to provide, after install services to them over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the trends that I'm very interested in, and I think my residential solar installer listeners will resonate here. Like yesterday, you were a solar installer. Tomorrow, you're a EV charging, electrification, heat pump, maybe energy efficiency installer, a more three-dimensional energy services company. The solar alone installer is definitely going to be a thing of the past if it's not already in your market, so to speak. I know there's some latecomers to the solar and storage. The early adopters of solar and storage paid a price, right? That was a bumpy road. Some of the products worked, some of them didn't. and so you had, just some messy situations, but battery integrators are getting better, and you have to be careful. I guess, I mean, you're certainly well aware of this, and it's a double edge. So the other big news for Lumen is you have a partner, an investment partner in ABB, the global infrastructure company. Tell us about ABB's investment. Why was that a good fit?
Yeah, well, ABB is a powerhouse in the whole electrical world, and they're headquartered over in Switzerland, but they're global. And what they bring to the table, it's not just an investment partnership. It started off as a commercial partnership, and then they made an investment also, which is great. We're still an early stage company where we're always looking to for investors to put capital into the business. So they just bring a lot to the party for us. First of all, sales channels. They have a global network of selling components like this, and the Lumin Smart panel is something that fits really well into their product portfolio. I mean, I don't know what their market share is, but a lot of the circuit breaker panels that are out in homes are made by ABB. And I think what they're attracted to Lumen about is the sophistication of our systems, and especially on the software side. It's really, you see the Lumin Smart panel as hardware, but it's really the software that's going on behind it that does these sophisticated optimizations of the power flow in the home. That is really what makes Lumen so unique, and our product so functional. But they're also really helpful in the challenge for Lumen is how to scale to keep up with the market opportunities we're looking at. They're just phenomenal. And so having a partner like ABB who, they know how to build this stuff, and they have been very helpful to us already, giving us pointers and advice on how to scale up our manufacturing and how to deal with supply chain and, all the things that, a company like us will be dealing with as we grow exponentially to meet, the market demand that we're seeing.
So what else should our listeners know? I think, it's easy to get excited about this technology. Making the ease of installation of solar and batteries and heat pumps and EV charging is a very good thing. There's still, some upfront cost challenges to this. There's the availability. I'm just curious, like, when you think about making the energy transition go faster, getting more consumers on board with this technology, what keeps you up at night, and how are you tackling those challenges?
Well, I just mentioned it that on the how do we scale is the one that's I think about a lot, because the demand is there and our partnerships are there. So that's all really exciting. I think, and I published an op-ed piece in Solar World a few months ago about energy equity, and that's an issue that's really coming to light, and you're seeing a lot of it in the IRA incentives and the other programs coming out of DOE, that there's a real push to let's get these clean technologies into mainstream America, middle America. Let's not have them be just sort of a early adopter program, but how do we actually make it so that wide percentage of American households can participate in this electrification movement? And so it'll be really interesting to see how the commercial markets and the policymakers really respond to making that happen. We're already seeing some pretty interesting programs being adopted, and in some cases they're being run by technology companies like EV companies in some cases, or water heater companies. Some cases they're being driven by government agencies. I know out in California, I've been spending a fair amount of time there, that they are looking at some really cool, innovative electrification programs targeting LMI communities, basically going door to door and retrofitting gas appliances for electric appliances and putting in smart panels as a part of that. And part of it is through a lot of the rate designs that are taking place at utilities. You're getting more and more complex rates, and that's another real benefit of a load management systems like Lumen's, is that you can basically either program the system to respond to like time of use schedules and things like that, or respond in real time either to signals from the utility or whoever the aggregator is. Doesn't have to be utility, could be a Sunnova, for example. Responding in real time or through set schedules to optimize your power consumption in response to economic signals. That's really where the future is going with this. How do you create at scale these more flexible demand programs?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned LMI, and this is a huge swath of America who generally can't reach into the solar and EV world yet, certainly from an ownership perspective. But are you suggesting that like this program in California you referenced, it's a grant funded thing so that homeowners in the LMI category can benefit? Or is it that some third party is going to own the infrastructure, or some combination thereof?
Some combination thereof. I mean, for example, Sunnova has a very large partnership with DOE in Puerto Rico, where, they're going into what I would label as LMI communities and doing major retrofits and installing solar and batteries and load management systems, really in response to resiliency and those kinds of issues. The one in California is actually funded by the state. It's targeted for later in the year or next year. But this has been going on for a long time. And so I would say that like load management is not revolutionary, it's evolutionary. This has been happening for 30 years. And what we're seeing is just better and better technology coming on the market, as well as a market need like electrification or, like decarbonization, that are really driving now, these global objectives to clean up the electric grid. And so, and companies like Lumen are at the forefront, just, building a better mousetrap in terms of, okay, how do we control more kW at a lower cost? And ultimately, the equation is, how do you move more kilowatt hours, more electrons through the same kilowatt infrastructure? And that's ultimately a more efficient model. It's going to lower rates. It's going to create less carbon. And that's what we're a part of.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is why I'm so passionate for the energy transition. It's good for people. It's good for their health. It's good for their pocketbook. It's good for our future, right? Creating a safer, healthier future for humanity, stepping back from the brink potentially of climate change, and it's good for the economy, right? We have to upgrade all this infrastructure eventually. It's not a question of if we're going to make the transition; it's how quickly we're going to make it, right? And how extensively. So, well, do you have any closing thoughts, Kelly? I've really enjoyed talking with you. I really appreciate your work and your legacy. I'll put a link to your story in Solar Power World from August of 2023 here in the show notes. And but yeah, what else what other closing thoughts would you like to share?
Well, look, I'd love to keep in touch with you, Tim, because there's things just happening so fast. And I know if you look at Lumen's product development roadmap and, more partnerships, things like that we'll be announcing. It's really an exciting time to be in this industry. And like I say, I've been in it a long time, and I'm just thrilled with what's happening in our little industry, and really happy that Lumen's making a significant contribution to it.
Check out Lumen at luminsmart.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Tim Montague. Check out my website, cleanpowerhour.com. Please give us a rating and a review on Apple or Spotify. Those are the two by far biggest ways that you can hear the show. There's many other platforms. And we have a very robust YouTube channel. All of our content is on YouTube. Just click on the YouTube link right there on cleanpowerhour.com. And reach out to me, though. I love hearing from my listeners. So I want to thank Kelly Warner, for CEO of Lumen, for coming on the show today. Kelly, how can our listeners find you?
So it's luminsmart.com is where you will find Lumen's homepage.
Excellent. Well, with that, I'll say let's grow solar and storage. I'm Tim Montague. Thank you so much. Hey, listeners. This is Tim. I want to give a shout out to all of you. I do this for you twice a week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time. I really appreciate you and what you're all about. You are part and parcel of the energy transition, whether you're an energy professional today or an aspiring energy professional. So thank you. I want to let you know that the Clean Power Hour has launched a listener survey, and it would mean so much to me if you would go to cleanpowerhour.com, click on the About Us link right there on the main navigation. That takes you to the About page, and you'll see a big graphic, Listener Survey. Just click on that graphic, and it takes just a couple of minutes. If you fill out the survey, I will send you a lovely baseball cap with our logo on it. The other thing I want our listeners to know is that this podcast is made possible by corporate sponsors. We have Chin Power Systems, the leading three-phase string inverter manufacturer in North America. So check out CPS America. But we are very actively looking for additional support to make this show work. And you see here our media kit with all the sponsor benefits and statistics about the show. We're dropping 2 episodes a week. We have now over 320,000 downloads on YouTube, and we're getting about 45,000 downloads per month. So this is a great way to bring your brand to our listeners, and our listeners are decision makers in clean energy. This includes project executives, engineers, finance, project management, and many other professionals who are making decisions about and developing, designing, installing, and making possible clean energy projects. So check out cleanpowerhour.com, both our listener survey on the About Us and our media kit, and become a sponsor today. Thank you so much. Let's grow solar and storage. The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, the maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 6 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS America product lineup includes three-phase string inverters ranging from 25 to 275 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 250-275, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. The 250-275 pairs well with CPS America's exceptional data communication, controls, and energy storage solutions. Go to chinpowersystems.com to find out more.